Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Saturday, June the 26th, with my daughter, my wife. We had gone through the march and we had become separated. So before that, we had agreed that if we were separated, we'd meet at Queen's Park in the free speech area. And my daughter and I made our way back there sometime after 6 o'clock on Saturday evening. We were sitting down with 2 other young men, just talking about different things. And that's when the line of police, they moved up on us fairly quickly. And one of them said, move. So they surrounded us, and I was trying to get up, and there was a little jostling going on, and I fell back underground. And my daughter said, you know, leave him alone, let him have some time to get up. He's an above-the-knee amputee. And the other 2 men there, they're trying to help me get up too. But it seemed that we were taking too long. And then one of the police yelled out, hit the 4 of them. So the next thing, I just seemed like several police piled right on top of me. One of them used his knee to pin my head to the ground and was grinding my head into the ground. My arms were trapped underneath me, and they were piled on top of me, and I couldn't move at all. And they were trying to yank their arms from underneath me, and all the while claiming that I was resisting arrest. And I couldn't resist anything. My arms were trapped beneath me, and I couldn't get them out. But anyways, they kept yanking at them, and they pulled out the arms from behind me. Then they used tie wrap to secure my arms behind me. And then one of them ordered me to walk. And I told them I couldn't, because I couldn't get up, and normally I always walk with a walking stick, and with my hands behind my back I couldn't do that. So it's still on the ground, and then he proceeded, he grabbed my prosthetic leg, my left leg, and he yanked it off. And then he told me to hop. And I said, well, you know, I can't hop either. And then he said, well, you asked for it. So then 2 of them grabbed me under each shoulder here and started dragging me away from the area where we were sitting. And they were dragging me over pavement, and my elbow was digging into the ground, and I was very hurt, and I was screaming and yelling. So about halfway to the paddy wagons, where another group of police officers came up, and the 2 that were dragging me dropped me, and it must have been about 4 or 5 police officers. They picked me up and hoisted me into the air. And all the while, and then they started marching towards the paddy wagon, and they were saying things like, he's resisting arrest, he's a spitter, he's got a weapon, and you shouldn't be here in the first place. They're saying these things. And then when we got to the paddy wagons, they threw me down on the ground, gave me a few more hits and kicks, and then they went through all my pockets, turned them inside out, and took all what I had on me, which was $33, my glasses, a whistle, and then they threw me in the paddy wagon. And there was one other person in there already, and over the next hour or so, hour and a half, they brought in another 4 people. So altogether, eventually 6 of us were in the paddy wagon. It was really hot in there. One person was really having a rough time breathing. He kept asking for water or to be let out, to be given air, but they seemed to be just wanted us to pack in there, to have us packed in there. And so after that, finally, we were brought to the detention center, and I was put in one of the cages there. They wouldn't give me my leg back because they said it could be used as a weapon. But I was in the cage probably around, I don't know, 9 o'clock on Saturday evening. I ended up in there. And then they started processing some of the people they were bringing in. And time went on and they weren't processing me, and then they came and they told me they couldn't find any paperwork for me and they couldn't process me, and this kept going on for a while. Nobody wanted to process me. All they would say, well, there's no paperwork. And I asked for a phone call because, of course, I wanted to let my wife know or somehow get word to her what happened to us, because I knew she'd be very worried about us and she'd be looking for us. And also I wanted to know about my daughter, too. I mean, I didn't feel quite right to be there and arrested with my daughter. We weren't doing anything wrong. From what I saw going on around me at the time that we were arrested, there was nobody rioting. It was very peaceful. It seemed that everybody was just settling down after the march, and they were talking to each other. It was like an evening gathering at a park. So I was upset, and then when we were in the cages, I mean, you've heard it already, but a lot of people were asking for water. They wouldn't bring out water for a long time. People were very thirsty, and then people were dressed for the outside summer weather. It started to get cooler in the evening, but they wouldn't give us blankets or anything. And then all the time while I was in locked up, in the area I was locked up in, we all had handcuffs on or tie wraps on all the time. They wouldn't take them off. So it took about 7 hours until they gave us water, and then it took them even longer finally to bring us some food. And as the day, Saturday night went over, and then Sunday morning started, and you could hear it from the people who were locked up. A lot of them were getting anxious. They wanted to call their children. They wanted to call their parents. They wanted to call their employer or lawyer. They wanted to let somebody know that they were locked up. And a person who was in a cell with me said he said he wasn't even a protester, but he lived in the area, and they picked him up. He wanted to get a call out because he had 2 young children. He wanted to let them know they were, but they weren't letting calls out. I don't understand why, but that was their position they took. So never processed. Never even told what I was charged with. The only thing they mentioned or accused me of doing was resisting arrest. But when I was in there, nobody talked to me about it. No sergeant came to me. And at around 8 o'clock on Sunday evening, one of the guards took an interest in me, and he wanted to know why I was still there. Because he had just come on that shift. And I told him, well, they said they can't find any paperwork for me, and he said he would look into it. And I guess he finally did something. He spoke to one of the supervisors there, and they decided to let me go without any charges. I asked him for my walking sticks, my money, and my glasses back. They said they didn't have any of that. All they had was my artificial leg. And they said they were going to push me out onto the street. And I said, well, that wouldn't be any good, because we were staying at a house in northwest Toronto. I said I couldn't find my way back there. I couldn't get there without my walking sticks, my money, or my glasses. So they agreed, and the police said it was very unusual, but they drove me home in a police cruiser at the end of the night. And it turns out, I didn't know this, but I was released at almost the same time as my daughter was, about 9 o'clock on Sunday evening. And I think there should be a public inquiry to look into what happened. There were a lot of other people in there who had done nothing. A lot of people who were not even part of the protest. They were just being dragged off the streets. And they were bringing them in all through Saturday evening, and then through Sunday. It seemed it was like a hunt for people on the streets of Toronto. And then to listen when the people were being brought in and their stories, and it just seemed unbelievable that this was going on. I couldn't imagine what was happening out on the streets. But it seemed that things had gotten out of control. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. We really appreciate that. That brings our speeches to an end, but we have brought along with us our dear friends